Welcome to Daxon Recaps channel, and thanks for tuning in.
He called me a whore.
She a good kisser?
Hey, outside.
Sandy?
What?
The story begins in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where a man in a van enters a parking garage near PNC Park. After paying for parking, he methodically assembles a sniper rifle and starts firing at random pedestrians along the North Shore Trail. 5 people are killed before he makes a quick getaway in the same van. Detective Emerson and his team arrive at the scene, analyzing the evidence. They find a shell casing inside the parking meter and extract a fingerprint, which matches James Barr, a former U.S. Army sniper. The police raid Barr's home and find crucial evidence: his van, bullet-making equipment, sniper rifle, and Barr himself. He is arrested immediately. During questioning, Emerson and District Attorney Alex Rodan present Barr with a choice: confess and receive life imprisonment, or fight the charges and risk execution. Instead of responding, Barr writes 4 words: "Get Jack Reacher." Emerson explains that Reacher is an ex-military police officer and elite investigator who abandoned his past life, leaving no trace, no address, credit cards, or phone. Finding him seems impossible, but, surprisingly, Reacher walks into the DA's office just as Rodan and Emerson are discussing him. Rodan refuses to let Reacher review the case but allows him to visit Barr, who was beaten into a coma by inmates during transport. At the hospital, Reacher meets Barr's defense attorney, Helen Rodan, the DA's daughter, who is determined to keep her client off death row. Reacher makes it clear that he is not there to help Barr and is baffled as to why Barr asked for him. Helen offers him access to the case files if he agrees to be her investigator, but Reacher refuses, convinced that Barr is a murderer. He explains that while stationed in Iraq, Barr had a strong urge to kill but never received orders to shoot. Frustrated, he eventually snapped and went on a killing spree, targeting men later revealed to be criminals. The military covered up the incident, allowing Barr to walk free. Reacher had vowed that if Barr ever killed again, he would stop him. However, something feels off. Why would Barr call on Reacher, knowing he would seek justice rather than help? Helen persuades Reacher to investigate, and he insists she meet with the victims' families to uncover who they were. Helen's inquiries take a dangerous turn when a grieving relative threatens her, and her father warns her to drop the case. Meanwhile, Reacher examines the crime scene, unaware that he is being watched by a man in a car holding a file on him. At the scene, Reacher notices a discrepancy. The ideal sniper position would have been Fort Bainbridge, not the parking garage. Later, he reviews the rifle evidence with Emerson, impressing him by reciting the weapon's serial number from memory. Reacher begins to question why a skilled sniper like Barr would pay for parking before randomly shooting strangers. That night, Reacher stops at a bar, where a woman named Sandy approaches him. When he identifies her as a prostitute, she takes offense. Moments later, her boyfriend and his group arrive, looking for a fight. Reacher warns them but, when they ignore him, easily defeats them. Strangely, the police arrive almost instantly and arrest him. Helen bails him out, making Reacher realize the Barr fight was a setup designed to intimidate him. Meanwhile, the man tracking Reacher is revealed to be Linsky, who meets with Charlie, the real shooter, and their boss, a sinister figure called the ZEC. Linsky admits he hired men to confront Reacher and confesses to killing one of them, Jeb. Because Jeb recognized him, the ZEC, displeased with Linsky's failure, orders him to bite off his own thumbs as punishment. When Linsky hesitates, Charlie executes him. The next day, Reacher finds Sandy at her job and learns she was coerced into luring him to the bar. Feeling sorry for her, he advises her to leave town. Borrowing her car, he visits Jeb's house to investigate but is ambushed by Jeb's associates. He defeats them and learns Jeb has been missing for days, confirming Reacher's suspicion that Jeb is dead. Reacher updates Helen and begins to believe Barr was framed. The only evidence tying Barr to the scene is the fingerprint on the parking meter. Reacher realizes Barr asked for his help not as a friend but because he trusted Reacher to uncover the truth. Reacher deduces that the Russian mob planted Barr's fingerprints and DNA to frame him. He also notices a car tailing him. Investigating, he discovers it is registered to a shell company controlled by the Russian mob. The mob had been trying to acquire a construction company for their operations, but the owner resisted and pursued legal action. Reacher concludes the mob orchestrated the owner's murder, disguising it as part of a random shooting by killing 4 additional people. Meanwhile, Charlie and his men kill Sandy and frame Reacher for the crime. Following a lead, Reacher visits a shooting range in Ohio owned by former Marine Cash. Initially reluctant to help, Cash changes his mind after Reacher demonstrates his marksmanship. Cash confirms that Barr was once an elite shooter, capable of hitting targets from 700 yards. However, Reacher remains skeptical, suspecting someone altered Barr's records to exaggerate his skill. Surveillance footage later reveals Barr frequently interacted with a man tied to the Russian mob. The true masterminds are Russian criminals masquerading as businessmen, led by the ZEC, an ex-Soviet Gulag inmate. They have a corrupt officer, Emerson, feeding him information. The mob kidnaps Helen and holds her at a construction site. With sniper support from Cash, Reacher systematically eliminates the guards. He then challenges Charlie to a hand-to-hand fight, effortlessly defeating him. Facing Emerson, Reacher reveals the biggest clue, the parking meter. Only someone inside the investigation would have known to manipulate it. With precise shooting, Reacher kills Emerson and rescues Helen. He then confronts the ZEC, who smugly declares that with no witnesses, Reacher has no case. Reacher, unfazed, executes the ZEC without hesitation, ensuring his schemes end for good. Knowing Helen will clear his name, Reacher departs with Cash, now a fugitive once again. When Barr emerges from his coma, he tells Helen he remembers nothing. However, convinced of his own guilt, he mentally reconstructs how he would have committed the crime. His imagined sequence perfectly matches Reacher's initial theory. Helen later relays everything to her father, explaining the depth of the conspiracy and how Reacher unraveled it. Despite having no memory, Barr is still ready to confess, believing that his past as a trained killer means he must be responsible. Helen realizes the irony. Barr, once eager to kill, now fears the justice system failing because he knows Reacher will not let him walk free if there is any doubt. Meanwhile, Reacher remains on the move, a ghost once more, vanishing into the shadows, ready to seek justice wherever it is needed next. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more, and put down your comments below to let me know what you think about this recap story. Give this video a thumbs up and share for others too to enjoy. And see you on my next recap. Bye for now.